regulations, the draft permit, and the revised SGEIS. And will be responded to in writing at a later date. Anyone who wishes to speak tonight has to fill out a speaker card, and then you need to hand that card back in so we have it, and as they were numbered, and they will be called the number that is reflected on it. Any elected officials will be permitted to speak first, and then comments from the general public. As we talk, we're going to be calling people up in blocks of 10 to sit in this front row, and then we'll be called up, and when we get to the last two speakers of that group of 10, we will call the next group of 10, and so on and so on, until the hearing comes to a close. Let me apologize in advance if any of us mispronounce your name. If it's mispronounced, you should, of course, please correct us. We're doing our best. After your name is called, please come forward, speak into the microphone, and clearly and slowly, because we have this court reporter, to my right is a stenographer who's writing down everything you say, and it's important that you speak loudly and clearly and not too fast. I know we're in New York City, not too fast, so we can get done. Begin with your name, address, and if you're speaking on behalf of someone or a group of people. As you see, we have quite a few people in the auditorium and people who wish to speak, so we're going to strictly enforce the 3-minute limit. People were pretty good in the afternoon, but as Mr. Evans said, if you speak over your 3 minutes, you're really eating into other people's time. As we said before as well, I understand people want to applaud or anything at the end, but please try to keep that to a minimum so again we can keep things moving. Please do not interrupt any speakers, either with applause or with booing or anything like that. This is an official legislative hearing, and it takes a lot for people to get up here and speak in front of all these people, and please afford them the respect that you would want if you were a speaker up at the microphone. I think it's very, very important, and just in no circumstances. This is a governmental administrative proceeding, legislative hearing. Booing and interrupting people as they speak is just unacceptable. We're going to stop the clock, and it's getting into people's time. So I just please ask everyone to show every one of our speakers respect. With that, I would ask everyone to please silence your cell phones, and we will call the first.
Okay, our first 10 speakers will be Darwin Roberts, Sylvia Jordan, Bill Southern, Marianne Rose, Susanna Glidden, Ann Wilson, Carl Arnold.
Number one, I want to explain that there's a direct connection between the burial ground up here, and I'm going to talk faster, because the burial ground originally was owned by some Dutch blacks by the name of Alexander, and they owned Crippens Creek. And Crippens Creek happens to feed right under this building. So if the refractant comes down and starts leading into New York, the first people that are going to be hit with problems are the people in this building. Now the main thing is I'm a caver, so I'm used to seeing what's underneath the ground. They have done no analysis of the voids and all the interconnections that are under this earth. As a caver, we do exploratory work, and they cannot deal with the bans that they are putting forward because these underground caverns go for hundreds of miles. Some of them go across the whole United States and under the ocean and actually wind up in other continents. And that's not being taken into effect. The main thing in the situation is that these caverns feed up into springs and other things that have been dormant for centuries. Should they refract, these pools, chambers, and springs will become active, and these refractive byproducts and toxic materials will come out of your mountains, out of your lakes, out of the ground, and can be in a situation where we may not have water. But then again, I looked at another thing. A lot of the Wall Street people are buying up water from other industries, and I'm actually talking about desalination. So maybe they want us to buy the water after they mess up our water. But the main thing is we cannot have refracting because they did not do the environmental work of checking what is underneath the ground and the interconnections. And I'm throwing a challenge that the governor and anybody that's on these panels, I I will take them underground and show them the continental movement underground and these voids and everything else that are in slurries that can move with water.
Thank you. Sylvia Jordan.
Well, they always say I'm so now, so now I have a mic. And I have to tell you, I'm a miracle baby. I was born at Long Island College, so 346 Henry Street. And guess what? I have a neck. I'm a miracle. My neck is only in the front, is only 1 inch. And in the back, I have a normal back and vertebrae. So when you all think I'm sleeping, I can't raise my neck, but I'm alive. And I took out my teeth today, and now you know me natural like I was born. So therefore, I was conceived on November of 1918. And on the other way I came in Salem to help because of these young people. The miracle of my life, I know the one that they took away, Hoffman, did not commit or do anything, and he came to me and showed me 2 Christmas trees, one on the left and one on the right, and showed me the wedding band. That was my wedding band, being a widow, a veteran. So what I want you to know, quick, guess what? I'll give you all, quick, because of those things and all that's real and true, and I know that all of you people here today gathered, of all ages, are for what is right, and that I am with you, young people. Guess what? I might die any minute, but I'm going to stick with you until I die. I'll lay down, and they can kill me like they killed Hoffman, who was innocent. All right? You ready for me to do it? Gondolier. That's what we are. Fraction of what? Health. Humanity. All people equal. Iroquois.
Senator Dominic Montgomery.
Here I stand, Native Americans, here I stand. Native American, here I jump. Native American.
Good evening to the commissioners and to also our governor and in concert with my colleagues. I welcome you to the city. Thank you for coming here. I hope you could spend even another day. I am speaking respectfully to call on you and ask our governor to agree to continue a ban on hydraulic fracturing. Horizontal drilling and hydrofracking pose an unacceptable risk to our drinking water and the quality of groundwater aquifers, lakes, and streams in the state. Drilling will introduce over 250 or more chemicals into our air and water, placing local residents, wildlife, farms, farming industry, the critical agricultural and watershed areas at risk in our state. What are these chemicals being used? How do they react in combination with each other and with any substances they encounter below the surface or with water and other liquids? What are the effects of the wastewater or the gases burned off as part of the process? What effect will they have in combination with other pollutants that we already have in our environment? How will they spread? What will be the effects on our crops or our animals or our children? Why is there a suspect correlation in the increase in earthquakes in hydrofracking areas? What is really going on down there? Why has this not been independently studied by the state of New York completely, as well as the federal government? And why has this not been a major front-burning issue as it relates to our environment? Who has been reliant, the citizens of this state have been reliant upon the studies sponsored or provided by the very industry we are meant to regulate. Please, let's do our job. What we don't know about the answers to the above questions that I just asked can hurt us, indeed can kill us, can hurt our generations to come. It can give us, without answers to this question, are we susceptible to cancers? Will we require trillions of dollars, especially at the expense of New York City?
Please come up, Senator.
Trillions of dollars for water filtration systems and make us suffer the incalculable loss of both forests and farmland of our entire agricultural Commissioners, you and I have an obligation or responsibility to the future generations of our state. Let's not throw away our environment. Thank you.
My name is Southern. I'm an environmental scientist, a certified hygienist, and the president of Microecology, a Harlem-based environmental consulting firm. I'm also a doctoral candidate in the School of Urban Public Health at the City University of New York. I speak here tonight on behalf of myself and microecology. Natural gas is the cleanest burning fossil fuel and has the potential to be the fossil fuel that is least damaging to our environment while having the least negative impact on public health, not only in New York State, but across America and across our planet. The abundance of this natural resource locked in the tight shell formations that were laid out for us some 400 million years ago are said by many industry experts to provide enough energy to fuel our power plants and heat our buildings for the next 100 years, bridging the fossil fuel age of the past 200 years with the renewable fuel age we must swiftly be moving toward to preserve and safeguard the God-given richness of our state and our planet for our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren who will be our descendants on this planet during the 22nd century. The question then that I believe each of us must ask is, if our legislature and our government decide to allow hydrofracking in New York State, then how do we regulate and control the extraction of this resource in such a way as to balance our demand for energy with our responsibility to minimize damage to our environment and the health of our residents? While I would like to acknowledge the efforts of the DEC for the research and preparation of the SGEIS, it should be crystal clear, based on the comments that we have heard here today, that the SGEIS is deficient in its protection of the environment and the health of New York residents in a number of ways. Two of these deficiencies are the subject of my comments here this evening. Number one, the regulations must require the on-site treatment and reuse of flowback. Given that the aquifer is fracked 5 times, this will result in an 80% reduction in flowback wastewater disposal requirements. The on-site treatment requirement will also result in the final flowback being pre-treated on-site to allow for safe disposal at qualified and licensed industrial water treatment facilities. This requirement will also reduce truck traffic to and from the wellhead by approximately 50%. Additionally, this requirement will create a range of jobs from waste treatment engineers and technicians to factory workers in the waste disposal equipment manufacturing industry. Number two, the regulations must require that the natural gas companies who reap the financial benefits from the extraction of this transition fuel pay a specified percentage of their revenue to the state to be used solely for the purpose of developing a renewable energy industry in New York State that will provide long-term